I have to say, I was very pleasantly surprised at just how good Spider-Man No Way Home was. Not just because of the fantastic chemistry between Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire, but the fact that it was a proper, grown-up, uncompromising coming-of-age story for Holland's Peter Parker, which seems so rare in Disney movies these days. It felt very much like a Tobey Maguire Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie in tone and philosophy, given that this younger version of Peter had to learn some important home truths that any superhero protagonist should understand. The obvious one, with great power comes great responsibility, which is a sentiment echoed in this film and previously expressed in the Raimi Maguire films, and that ultimately a hero must accept that responsibility carries with it a weight of duty and personal sacrifice. If you haven't seen No Way Home just yet, be prepared to be spoiled in this video, although I'm not going to do a proper review here or even a breakdown of every single detail of the overall plot. I will only be spoiling the details that I find relevant to the theme of today's video. Ultimately, the multiverse plot device works well and serves to accomplish multiple things at once. It manages to shoehorn several well-known Spider-Man villains into the film by incorporating previous on-screen depictions of them, so we get Dr. Octopus, Lizard, Electro, Sandman, etc. It also managed to get all of the past incarnations of Spider-Man together, and in particular has now made Andrew Garfield's version of the character popular. The 2012 and 2014 Amazing Spider-Man movies are now enjoying a new appreciation given the positive audience response he received in No Way Home. Sony has achieved a real win by connecting its previous Spider-Man cinematic universes into the MCU, but the primary success of the multiverse plot device, and in particular Doctor Strange's final amnesia spell whereby everyone in the world forgets Peter Parker, is that now Holland's version of Spider-Man/Peter Parker can be detached from the Marvel Cinematic Universe and utilized instead in Sony's own Spider-Man universe. The Disney Marvel Spider-Man films with Tom Holland were among the most critically praised and financially successful in the MCU, and Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way Home are three solid films, but will Sony make better use of Spider-Man than Disney and Marvel did? Is Tom Holland's Spider-Man headed for bigger and better things in Sony's Venomverse or in a new Spider-Verse of Sony's creation? That's what we're going to talk about right after this.
Before we go very much further, it's time now for a word from our partner for this video, NordVPN, a virtual private network that will keep you secure and safe online. Your activity and personal information on the internet these days is becoming increasingly more visible to others, and for that reason, you need to take steps to protect your data and privacy. NordVPN provides you with next-generation security features that allows you to do just that. It provides advanced protection against cyber attacks, malware, and trackers, and lets you block intrusive ads so that you are in full control of your web browsing experience. In addition to that, you can protect all of your devices on a single subscription. Nord works on Mac, PC, Linux, iOS, Android, and even your Wi-Fi router. Some VPNs really slow down your connection, but not Nord. Whatever you're doing, whether it's watching videos, streaming music, doing video calls, or playing video games, Nord's 5,200 plus superfast servers and groundbreaking Nord Links protocol mean that there's no bandwidth limits to worry about, just a robust, secure, and really fast connection. And their no logs policy means that there's no record of your web browsing history for third parties to see. You can hide your IP address with just a few clicks and have peace of mind while online, and in addition, Nord offers dedicated technical and customer support with a knowledgeable and friendly staff. Right now, Nord is celebrating its 10th birthday, and from February 9th for 1 month, they're offering 70% off to those of you who buy a 2-year subscription. And those of you who purchase a subscription during this time will receive a bonus gift from Nord also. Use my link in the description box and download Nord today. And if you make use of the promo code ComputingForever, you'll get 1 month for free when buying the 2-year plan.
So welcome back. From as far back as 2019, it's been no secret that Sony has wanted to reclaim the rights to Spider-Man from Disney and Marvel, and it's been a bit of a tug of war for some time, with fans kind of caught in the middle of it all. The various Spider-Man reboots have added a level of unfortunate complexity when trying to make sense of the various continuities, but to its credit, No Way Home went a long way to respectfully addressing and interconnecting all of the various big-screen Spider-Man films, so that at least there's an attempt to try to make all of the past disconnectedness and fragmentation seem worthwhile and leading towards something. At the end of No Way Home, Doctor Strange casts a spell to make everyone forget Holland's version of Peter Parker, and in so doing, the rest of the MCU characters no longer remember him. He's now free to walk away from them and move on to a new film series that's free from MCU characters. This really is the perfect clean slate setup for Sony to take this version of Spider-Man into a totally new franchise that they will have full creative control over, with no lingering MCU Disney strings attached. Now, from a character development perspective, it's also a solid move. In No Way Home, Holland's Peter Parker is forced to really grow up and do the heroic thing, to let go of his girlfriend MJ and best friend Ned, both of whom have now achieved one of their ambitions of getting into the college that they wanted, an opportunity that had previously been denied them because of their association with Peter. So he learns the value of self-sacrifice, putting others first, and he's matured a great deal because of this. This is the path of the archetypal stoic independent hero after all. He has to say goodbye to Happy Hogan also, who's been a kind of older brother figure to him. And the idea of Peter being a bit of a loner and having to start all over again is much more in keeping with the classic roots of the comic book character. It makes for a poignant, bittersweet conclusion, but it means that Sony's take on Holland's Peter Parker will be a more mature one going forward. The Disney/MCU Spider-Man world gave us a younger and more innocent Peter Parker from his initial introduction in Captain America Civil War through to Spider-Man Homecoming, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, and Spider-Man Far From Home. I think Disney's involvement was always going to mean that Spider-Man would be made more kid-friendly and generally fairly light-hearted. But I think Spider-Man No Way Home changed all of that for a slightly darker and more mature and serious tone, with a conclusion that leaves him in a state that is much more familiar and I think in line with the Maguire and Garfield films, and I hope that going forward this Tom Holland version of Spider-Man becomes more like the 90s animated TV series, which I really loved as a kid. I think the fact that Holland's Spider-Man is also now in a situation where no one knows him and he literally has no friends now means that there's a renewed significance and importance in maintaining his secret identity, which was always so vitally important to the character historically, but I think has not played as much of an important factor in the MCU. I suspect that Holland's Spider-Man will return to the MCU at some point. But regardless, for now, I think for many reasons, Spider-Man returning to the creative control of Sony for the time being will be a huge boost to the character, as his stories will no longer have to be slightly modified to work within the wider Marvel Cinematic Universe. They can be pure Spider-Man stories, and the character can be written in such a way that will be much more true to the tone of the character's history from the comic books. Finally, I didn't want to write this video as a review of No Way Home, which it clearly isn't, but I do want to say that it was hugely encouraging to see a modern superhero film that wasn't compromised by some kind of political agenda. You know what I mean. This was just a really solid and enjoyable Spider-Man film that didn't pander to anything, and it felt like I was watching a solid Hollywood superhero movie that was made like 10 years ago. It was well worth seeing. Anyway, I'll wrap this video up here, guys. I would be very curious to hear your thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home and on the future of Tom Holland's Spider-Man under Sony. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.